Today, we are going to learn a new portion from the chapter Displacing Indigenous People. Before that, if you are yet to subscribe my channel, please do subscribe my channel. So let us learn the portion European imperialism. Let us see what is the word meaning of imperialism, how you would define imperialism. Imperialism is the practice of a larger country or government growing stronger by taking over poorer or weaker countries that have important resources. It is the practice of a larger country or government growing stronger by taking over poorer or weaker countries that have important resources. It is a very powerful country, very wealthy country. If they are going into another country and if they are taking control of those country, politically, economically, if they are taking over another country, the weaker country, if a stronger country, wealthy country is taking over a weaker country, poorer country, bringing it under its control politically, economically, socially, if they're controlling everything, controlling the laws, controlling the regulations, controlling the government, that is what we call imperialism. An example of imperialism was England's practices of colonizing India. India was under the British rule till 1947. We got independence in the year 1947. Till that year, we were under the control of Britain. So Britain was an imperialist power and they controlled India. Not only controlled India, but looted our resources. And they controlled not only India, they also controlled many countries around the world. Okay. So that is a sort of imperialism. That is imperialism. If a larger country or a government is controlling poorer nations, economically, politically, socially, and influencing all its policies, taking control of its government. So that is what we call imperialism. From 17th century, France, Holland, England, all are European countries, began to extend their trading activities and to establish colonies. So how imperialism started? All these European powers wanted to loot the resources of other countries, loot the resources of weaker nations. So first of all, what did they do? They started trading activities with these countries. They started extending trading activities. They started moving to these countries, taking their resources, started exporting these resources to other countries. And to establish colonies in America, Africa, and Asia. Ireland also was virtually a colony of England, as the landowners there were mostly English settlers. So mainly the European countries, France, Holland, England, they started extending, they started increasing their horizon of trading activities, selling, buying. These trading activities, they started extending and they established the colonies in America, Africa, and Asia. These were the weaker countries. Okay, so the European powers established the colonies in these continents, Americas, Africa, and Asia. Even Ireland, which was a part of Great Britain, okay, country which was very close to England, that was also a colony of England. How can we say that? Because English people went there as settlers. They went to England as settlers. They started settling there. They went there as settlers. From the 18th century, it became obvious that while it was a prospect of profit which drove people to establish colonies, there were significant variations in the nature of control established. So why they moved to other countries? As I told before, they needed raw materials and they wanted to sell their finished products in these colonies. And why they were doing all these things? Because they knew that they will get profit. The prospect of profit, the possibility of getting profit drove, attracted these people to these colonies. But the nature, the behavior of the establishment of colonies in different continents changed from one continent to another. In Asia, there policy was, their colonization policy was different from that of the colonization policy in Africa, in Latin America. So the nature, the behavior of extending control, the manner of control of various countries in Asia, Africa differed a lot. In South Asia, first of all, we will see South Asia, how they controlled South Asia, especially India and all. They established trading companies like East India Company, made themselves into political power. First of all, they came to trade in the year 1600. Afterwards, studying the situations, they became political power. And how they established the political power? They defeated local rulers and started merging the territories one by one. And they established the political power in India. They retained the older, well-developed administrative system and collected taxes from landowners, like establishment of local self-government. Then in some places, they also had puppet rulers. So they retained the old administrative system. In many places, they retained. They did not change the administrative system, the ruling pattern, they did not change. And they collected land revenues or taxes from landowners because they needed money. So those who had land, they were imposed, that is, taxes were imposed on those land owners. They collected taxes. And later they built railways to make trade easier, excavated, that is, they started digging out mines and established big plantations. So first of all, they established the political power. Then they started collecting land revenue from the people. Then they built a transport system, excellent transport system. They built railways to make trade easier, to loot the resources from remote areas of the country, and to dig the minerals out. And they also established big plantations like tea plantations, coffee plantations, indigo plantations, etc. They destroyed agriculture. They started commercial agriculture. In Africa, Europeans traded on the coast except in South Africa. And only in the 19th century, they did venture into the interior. Now let us move to Africa. So in South Asia, first of all, they became political power. Then they did not change the old administrative system. They made excellent transport system to loot the resources and all. So that much we learned. And they also started digging minerals. Then they established big plantations in South Asia. Now in Africa, what did they do? Africa, they were interested in trading in coastal areas only. In coastal areas only, they were interested in trading. They did not move into the interior. They did not go into the remote area. But and afterwards, what happened? Afterwards, they started going into the interior. And the European powers, various European powers divided African countries among themselves. They made agreements and they divided. They divided African countries among themselves. So you can see here, some of the regions were established by British, the green region, then blue region by the French West Africa, then Belgium, Belgian Congo, then Portuguese had countries, then Italy had countries, and Spanish people had countries, so many. Then German territories were there. So Africa was sliced up under various empires, under various imperialist powers, not like South Asia. Okay, everybody was interested in Africa and they made an agreement and they sliced up region among different imperialist powers. Okay, in South Asia, they fought each other. In South Asia, Portuguese, French, British, they started fighting each other, and finally Britishers emerged as victorious and they controlled India. But in Africa, they made agreements, they sliced up the region, and each region was taken by the imperialist power and they started ruling. Okay. The word settler, what do you mean by settlement? If you are living some place, that is what we call settling down. Okay. Like we are settling down, imagine in Madhya Pradesh, that means we have settled down there. Okay. So same situation, settling down. Like New Zealand, Australia or America, you can see so many white people. That means they have settled down there. The word settler is used for Dutch in South Africa, British in Ireland, New Zealand, Australia, and Europeans in America. That you know, they have settled down there. Now also they are found in large numbers. Only white people you can see in New Zealand and Australia. So they are not the native inhabitants over there, original people. They are not the original people. They came from European countries and settled down there. They have settled down there. Now it is their country. They are having their own government and they are living there. In the case of India, they did not settle down. Okay, they went back. They did not settle down. So that is the meaning of settling. The word settler is used for Dutch in South Africa. Dutch settled down there. Then British in Ireland. Then Britishers settled down in New Zealand, Australia. The official language of these colonies were English, officially. Their language only. But in Canada, exception was there. They also allowed French language. Okay, French was also an official language in Canada. Now, the names given by Europeans to the countries of New World, America, first used after the publication of Travels of Amerigo Vespucci. From his name, the word America came. Canada from Canada, village in the language of Iroquois, as heard by explorer Jacques Cartier. Then Australia, 16th century name for land in the Great Southern Ocean. New Zealand, name given by Tasman of Holland, who was the first to sight these islands in 1642. So how these names derived, how these places got all these names, that is what it is mentioned. So let us see the history of original inhabitants of North America. Before that, let us see the location of North America. Okay, so you can see here, United States of America, Canada, Mexico. All these countries are part of North America. Then certain islands are also here, Cuba and all islands are also there. Cuba, you can see Jamaica and all. North America physical features are also here. Now, the continent of North America extends from Arctic Circle to the Tropic of Cancer, from Pacific to Atlantic Ocean. So, from north to south and from east to west. Okay, so here the Arctic Circle, the extreme northern latitude. Okay, North America extends from the Arctic Circle, that is the extreme northern latitude, to the Tropic of Cancer. Tropic of Cancer is the imaginary line which is having 23.5 degree north latitude. So from north to south, that is the extension from Arctic Circle to the southern portion, then from east to west, that is from Atlantic Ocean to the Pacific Ocean. So that is the location. Okay. Now again, west of the chain of Rocky Mountains is the desert of Arizona and Nevada. There is a physical features west of the chains of Rocky Mountains. Okay, you can see Rocky Mountains, and there near Rocky Mountains only you can see deserts. And often, as you all know, many of the deserts are seen in the western regions because there dry winds are blowing. Okay, dry winds are blowing, no moisture content. Because of that, deserts are always found on western part. So here too you can see the western, in western part you can see deserts names are mentioned over there. And still further west there are Nevada mountains. To the east, the Great Plains, Great Lakes, valleys of Mississippi, Ohio, and Appalachian Mountains. So eastern portion, what are the features are there? Like Appalachian Mountains, you can see here the Appalachian Mountains, eastern portion, which is a rich region. Then Mississippi River, you can see Ohio, Great Plains, all these regions exist in the eastern part. Okay, so this part, and here it is the western part, desert and all, desert, Rocky Mountains and all. So this is the western part. Okay, now let us move further. To the south is Mexico, Mexican country, Mexico. Southern portion is Mexico. Okay, so this is Mexico. Okay, southern portion of North America, it is Mexico, country Mexico. 40% of Canada is covered with forest. Oil, gas, mineral resources are found in many areas, which explains the big industries in USA and Canada. So why big industries are established in USA and Canada? Canada is another country in America. So there you can see so many minerals. Okay, so many minerals are there in USA and Canada, and because of those reasons, many of the industries are established in Canada and USA. Okay. Now today, wheat, corn, and fruit are grown extensively, and fishing is a major industry in Canada. Mining industry and extensive agriculture have been developed only in the last 200 years by immigrants from Europe, Africa, and China. So basically, they were doing fishing and all fishing activity, then they were growing many crops, but by 200 years only, industrially they have been developed. And how industrially they have been developed? Due to the immigrants from, that is, a lot of migrants came from Europe, Africa, and China, and because of their efforts, these countries are industrially developed now. But there were people who had been living in North America for thousands of years before the Europeans learned of its experience, the native peoples. But if these immigrants came in large numbers, when we learn about immigrants, do not forget about the native people. Okay, so thousands and thousands of years ago, the native people were living. Okay, so this is how America, Canada, Mexico you are seeing now. Now, who were the native people? Who were the original inhabitants? Who were the original people? Let us see. The earliest inhabitants of North America came from Asia over 30,000 years ago on a land bridge across Bering Straits during the last ice age. 10,000 years ago, they moved south. So you can see over here, this is the Bering Strait between, okay, a water channel between two land masses. You can see Bering Strait between Russia and United States through a land bridge. Maybe a natural land bridge existed. So from that land bridge, they came to United States of America through the Bering Strait. Okay. Now, the oldest artifact, the oldest material remain. Artifact means the material remain. Discovered in America, an arrow point, an arrow which is 11,000 years old. That means human beings existed before thousands and thousands of years ago. The population started to increase about 5,000 years ago when climate became more stable. As we learned, these countries, Americas, are in extreme northern hemisphere, so the climate was not favorable, and we are talking about ice age. So you can imagine how the condition would have been. Okay, very, very cold, unfriendly climate. And so population started increasing only before 5,000 years ago. Now, what is the word meaning of native? Native means a person born in the place he or she lives in. Okay, which place you belong to. Okay, your birthplace, that is what we call native. Till the early 20th century, the term was used by Europeans to describe the inhabitants of countries they had colonized. Okay. So the true living people, okay, that is the original people who are living there, they are the natives. These people lived in bands, in groups, in villages along river valley. That is who the original inhabitants, the native people, the people who belong to that particular land. They lived in group, they lived in villages where near the river valleys, they lived. And what were their main food items? They ate fish, they ate meat, they cultivated vegetables and maize. Ate fish, ate meat, then cultivated vegetables and maize, corn. They often went on long journeys in search of meat. They were wanderers. They were wandering from one place to another. So they went on long journeys. Why they were walking to long distances? They were searching for meat, and they were eating bison. They were eating wild buffalo. Then they roamed grasslands. They were moving, they were shifting in grasslands from 17th century, where when natives started to ride horses. Okay, so when they started moving, or when they made long journeys, when they started to ride horses, those time vehicles were not there, so they learned to ride horses, and after learning to ride horses, they started long journeys. And why they made long journeys? They needed meat. They needed the meat of bison. They needed the meat of wild buffalo. But they only killed as many animals as they needed for food. They did not do the deforestation. They did not kill all the animal species in a forest. They only killed those animals which they needed for food. If they need only one animal, they would kill only one animal, not 50, 60 animals. They did not attempt extensive agriculture. There is no commercial farming, no farming for export and import. They cultivated for their consumption, subsistence farming only. And since they did not produce a surplus, since they did not produce additional quantity, they did not produce an additional quantity, and they did not sell, they did not buy, no market was there, and they did not develop kingdom. They lived in group, but no king, queen, no political power, no looting, no attack, war. Such things did not exist. There were some instances of quarrels between tribes over territory, but by and large, control of land was not an issue. So, as I told you, no war, no fighting for territory, no fighting for land. They do quarrels. They fought each other, but for small territories around. Like if a person from another territory comes into their territory, they will ask why you came here. That were small quarrels were there. They were content with food. They were satisfied with the food and shelter they got, and from the land without feeling any need to own it. They never owned the land from there. Wherever they got things to eat, things to drink, they done so. An important feature of their tradition was that of making formal alliances and friendships, exchanging gifts. They made relationships. They had formal alliances like marriage, marrying. They had friendship and they exchanged gift. Goods were obtained not by buying them but as gift. Okay, no need to give the money or no need to give anything for getting something. Okay, you will get everything as gift only, no need to give anything in back. Very good people. Numerous languages were spoken, but scripts were not there. Nothing was written down. They spoke lot of languages, but no letters or no scripts were there. They believed that time moved in cycles, even though calendar, timepiece, watches were not there, but they believed that a cycle is there, like season, okay, summer, winter, autumn, spring. So time moved in cycles, and each tribe had accounts about their origin, and their earlier history were passed on from one generation to another. So they had some kind of history, or they knew what all things are taking place in the place. They what all things are taking place in their family, and how they originated, how they are born into a family, or any kind of changes are occurring. They had in their memory, and they used to tell the stories from one generation to another. They were skilled craftspeople and wove beautiful textiles. And these native peoples were very good craftsmen. They made beautiful textiles. They could read the land. They could understand the climate. They could understand the weather. They could understand the fertility of the soil. They could understand the type of plants which would grow in a land. That is the meaning of good land, could read the land. That means they can understand the situation in the land. They could understand the climate, and they can understand different landscape, mountain, plateau, plain, etc. In the way literate people read written text. So we people are literate, we are educated. So like the same way, similar way, they had the knowledge to recognize the landscape. They had the knowledge to identify the type of climate, weather, etc. in land. So hopefully you understood my lesson. Please don't forget to subscribe my channel and share the video among your friends. Thank you so much.